Hi guys, Ginger Z here, Dan Peck, a couple of meteorologists in a room. Are you guys sick of us yet? Because you've seen a lot of us the last couple weeks. And we are doing it again. Just to give you an update, the 5 o'clock just came in. Dan was just updating all the graphics, and Maria now a Category 4 hurricane. So Hurricane Maria, the one that is east of the Lesser Antilles right now, in the next couple of hours should see the eye pass by Dominica, the island right here. And that eye looking so well defined. The max sustained winds now 130, and then moving west-northwest at 9. And so you can see that west-northwest movement. It looks really put together. And unfortunately, islands like that don't do a whole lot to cause friction to break down the storm. So as it keeps going west and northwest, after we see Dominica, Guadalupe there in the direct path, we'll take it right over Puerto Rico, especially the northeast. I don't know if you've ever been there, Dan, and I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but I have been to Fajardo and San Juan, but Fajardo's on that northeast corner. And there is a Conquistadors, the resort I stayed at, but there are cliffs. I mean, it's a little bit protected surge-wise, but that means that there are high elevations, and there's a rainforest with a lot of mountains. So that east side, if you get 10 to 15 inches of rain, you're going to see major flash flood potential on top of nearly 150-mile-per-hour winds.
I think a big change with the 5 o'clock update was now it could be near Cat 5 strength as it's approaching the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and this is continually showing it's going right over or very close to those islands, and they didn't see that with Irma. They got grazed. And the U.S. Virgin Islands on the even closer to the track, and then the British Virgin Islands still could see some impacts. So all of them and even like Tortola and things that, you know, had a lot of damage. I know a lot of these islands that did have damage are so concerned, and they should be, because you get, even if you get a 100-mile-per-hour wind, I know we'll talk about Jose in a little bit, but Maria, I didn't see the hurricane force, how far out the winds go. I can look that up real quick. Yeah, while you're looking that up, I am zooming in for World News Tonight, some of our alert maps, and this does give you a better idea too. While we have now the hurricane warnings in effect, Puerto Rico now under a hurricane warning, the Virgin Islands, you can see here as I zoom in on the track, it's hitting a lot of those northern Caribbean islands there. That is the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that's Puerto Rico. And we, again, have winds 155. That's nearing Cat 5 strength, so very dangerous conditions. And right now, hurricane force is 25 miles outside the center, and tropical storm force is 125 miles. So that's what I'm talking about with some of those British Virgin Islands even that had a lot of damage. You can get to impacts, and we always say that. Impacts very wide, but I think it gets forgotten, even if you're not right on the track. And that can waver even in the next couple of days. That cone's so important for that reason, as we've learned. So it shifts a little farther west, a different part of Puerto Rico gets even more impact, more of Puerto Rico. If it shifts farther east and north, that would be a really great thing overall. Either way, a lot of impacts for those islands we're just mentioning now. And then the next big question, because everybody in Florida is so concerned, and the Keys, because they don't even have power, they don't have a way to get warning, and everyone's saying, are you letting them know? What we would let them know is that right now the path still takes it east of the Bahamas, and so it's still a very strong Category 3 hurricane by the time it's east of the Bahamas, but it's in the Atlantic. So that's through Saturday. A lot can change, some shifts can change, but most of the computer modeling is coming into agreement, not just for the next 48 hours, but beyond that, even up to 5 days. And so this is usually a good indicator that we will see the storm pass east of Florida. Beyond that, we have to see. I mean, we have to wait. Trying to, emphasize to everyone, this is still Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. Next week. Days and days away. And it will interact, or could interact, with Jose. It could. And that's why you really have to wait and see, because Jose's doing a little squirrely thing. It is. You can bring up the latest. Jose 75 mile per hour max sustained, so it's still Cat 1. Still Cat 1, but it's becoming more of less of a tropical system, and basically what that means is, structurally it's different, but it still does mean though that the wind field, or huge, that doesn't change anything. 230 miles. 230 miles from the center, so you have a large area of still very strong and potentially dangerous winds. Even though it's staying far enough off the coast right now, the center about 250 miles due east of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, on the Outer Banks. Some good news for portions of the Delaware, New Jersey coastline. We did just have the tropical storm watches canceled. Right.
But still up for parts of New Jersey or Long Island.
Long Island, Connecticut, and then again, that while here it could be slightly lower impacts. Again, we had to wait till we got in this time frame to get specific. Still looking at Cape Cod, east end of Long Island, pretty serious with waves.
Waves up to 14 feet.
Waves, strong winds.
And the piling of water over days. That's what this type of storm, with a storm that either acts like a nor'easter or just, it doesn't matter if it's tropical or not. I think knowing that these rotate counterclockwise and you have the wind on the northeast side, right? It's just like a nor'easter for that reason, where you get the piling of water.
And this is not really what you want to see, because you have it's still moving rather slowly, it's still rather strong, and then it's just going to sit here for days, and like you said.
And then try to turn a little south, even as a low.
Trying to turn around and...
But whatever it does, it doesn't get picked up as much in some of those upper air, mid-atmospheric pattern that we'd like to see it get kicked out with. So that's why we're talking about by next end of weekend, start of the week, will it interact at all or block Maria at all? Will it change its track? And then we've got that big ugly high that really has been forcing everybody that's out in the Atlantic. So there's a lot of things to be looked at, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Do we have questions? Do you guys have the questions available? Because I know we're always happy to take questions.
World News Facebook.
The World News Facebook?
Yeah, I think there was.
Yeah, well, maybe if you can look it up, that would be awesome. And just shout out, if you guys have any questions about these hurricanes, and again, even if it's a tropical storm, Jose, you still want to watch for those impacts, because the piling up of water happens in a nor'easter or any of those types of events. You get that coastal flooding. I think that's where you'll see the most impact. It's just going to be piling water over time, and you match it with high tide, and it becomes a big deal. So I'm going to try to think what else with Maria that people have been asking. But I think as long as we've just made sure that you all know, I know a lot of people are so concerned about, and they're just feeling hurricane fatigue. The islands too, as well they should. Do you guys also, I'm going to ask a question, because I've said leeward for a long time, but other people are saying it's leeward. I want you to answer that. I know like sailors call it leeward. But I don't know if we're all sailors.
I've always said leeward, but
yeah,
I mean, it could be.
And I know they're all part of the Lesser Antilles. Leeward is north, and there's three different breakups of it. I'm familiar with the geography, the pronunciation. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Need your help.
Someone asking, how did we go from? A lot of people wondering how we went from Jose to Maria. Well, there was Katia.
Right.
That was occurring while Irma was going on in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. So we didn't skip over K. No. It happened, and it's gone.
There was L. There was Lee. There is Lee.
Lee is hanging on there, far out in the Atlantic.
But it just formed sooner.
It formed sooner.
Maria.
Yeah. Again, we wait for that criteria to be named. Right. That happened first.
Someone asked, is it going to cross exactly over Puerto Rico? In the current track, it does cross the northeast part of Puerto Rico, pretty much right through the island. Why is this not going? Thinking? Sorry, hold on one second. We're going to get to the track here. Eventually.
There you go.
There it goes. So see how this line takes it just over, like I was talking about, almost over Fajardo out there. That northeastern, so about an hour east of San Juan on that north side. But this, remember, the cone is what you need to pay attention to. So even those U.S. and British Virgin Islands, even the western side of Puerto Rico, no one's out of the woods 48 hours out. We're still talking about 36 to 48 hours from feeling full impact, because that's Wednesday afternoon. All right, we have other questions.
I do have another model here for Jose. We didn't hit this. We could show,
sure.
This is one of our in-house models, kind of showing, timing out what impacts you would see. So basically, here's New York City, the Jersey Shore. We do have some rain bands, even some heavier downpours possible throughout tomorrow morning. And then we get those gusts on here. So late tomorrow night, you're seeing wind gusts generally around 25, 30 miles an hour. So while it's not necessarily looking too impressive with these numbers, it's still the coastline.
Yeah.
The coastline with the waves and the wind, and that's all the way down the Jersey Shore into Delaware. And then we continue to move this forward, and you can see here,
now
really
that's
winds
Wednesday
up.
Afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon, wind gusts 60, possibly over 60 miles an hour in Nantucket.
Heavy rain, Boston to Cape Cod.
And that's going to last for hours. So it's going to be really terrible out there throughout the day on Wednesday, and we continue to have, like we said, the rough surf,
I
the
think if
big
people
waves.
just think of it too, it will feel like a nor'easter.
Oh yeah, it's totally going to feel like,
Vicky asked a question, is it unusual to have these storms be so strong back to back? I know the season is crazy, but 4 storms consecutively. There's actually this weekend at a point where there were 3 named hurricanes at one time. That also happened to us 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we haven't confirmed yet, but
From what?
that it hasn't happened ever to have two within the same month.
2 Cat 4s?
No, the 3 named hurricanes.
Oh, twice in 1 month? No.
Right. Haven't done that.
The last time we had 3 was 2010.
U.S. Virgin Islands, I can give you a stat. The U.S. Virgin Islands has not seen a major hurricane, so category 3 or higher, twice in a season come this close. That is for sure.
And while we're shooting off the stats, this would be the first major hurricane, if it does make landfall in Puerto Rico, since 1998.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And it actually happened very interesting on September 21st. So it could actually happen
pretty
to the
similarly.
day almost, yeah.
And Puerto Rico, the other thing is, and Dominican, both can help to weaken depending on how much, where it goes going forward. It will also impact where it moves going forward. So how much land it interacts with in those bigger islands is pretty significant. Let's see. Do you think it can hit in Chicago? No, Lewis, I can definitively say that is no. That happened in 2004 in Florida. How bad in PR? People just keep asking. And that's a valid question because Puerto Rico, a lot of people have interest there, family there, friends there, vacation there. U.S. Virgin Islands, I know a lot of people feel like they've gotten forgotten about after Irma. Not at all forgotten about, by the way. We have covered and will keep covering. But the impacts to both could be significant. A strong category 4, almost a category 5, that's the type of storm that takes down walls, takes off roofs. Even well-built structures do not necessarily survive that type of hurricane. So no matter who is in that eye wall or 25 miles outside of the center of that storm right now, it's going to see major impact. And I'm really concerned. I mean, right now, Dominica and even Martinique on the backside doesn't, that's the thing too. These are super low-lying. I saw some of the governments of Dominica saying, our geography is not going to help us with this one.
Exactly.
We have nowhere to go. We have no land up. It's just flat. And that's where you're going to see surge, tons of rain, and then 140 mile per hour wind or 130 mile per hour
And back to the geography, though, like you mentioned earlier, rightfully so for Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, emphasizing the really strong winds.
Yeah.
But it's also going to be the potential with those mountains for not just heavy rain,
flash
but
flood.
Potentially, devastating flash flooding. When you get a foot to a foot and a half of rain in those mountainous areas, that could unfold after the strong winds initially hit.
And you get mudslides, and then in that rainforest area, I just keep thinking of that because that's my experience there. But I can just imagine trees coming down. I can imagine, some of those pictures we saw from the U.S. Virgin Islands where you posted that before and after, where the trees are shredded. There's nothing left, and then that rain's falling on that. There's nothing to absorb it as much. Exactly. And so it really falls. South side of Puerto Rico, and that's the thing, south side, north side right now, east side, west side, all needs to be on alert. I'd say the northeast side of Puerto Rico with this current track needs to be the most concerned, but the entire island should be worried, and I know someone was just saying my family's there. Will Maria go to Florida? So in case you guys are just joining us, it's good to see this track one more time before we go. A lot of worried Floridians, as you should be, and understandably so, but right now, all of the modeling taking it east of the Bahamas, staying out in the Atlantic at least through the beginning of the weekend, and it really looks like it'll stay east of Florida at this point. Then it gets a little murkier because that's just how far out. So it takes time, and meteorology's come a long way. We've gotten really good at forecasting within 3 to 5 days, and certainly between 1 to 3. But beyond that, that's why we show cone. The cone is so important because the cone means those impacts could be seen on either side of that. It goes farther east, not even the Bahamas see any impacts. It goes farther west, then we start talking about everybody. So we will keep updating this. We're coming back on World News. You'll want to turn it on, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Ginger right at the top of the show.
Right up the top.
The latest forecast.
Ginger Z right here. All right, it was great to join you guys. I'm sure we will see you again tomorrow. That's the beauty. You do get a little bit more of us. It's not good.
2 more months.
We're sorry. All right, you guys, have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.
Второй за сезон ураган максимальной мощности, сформировавшийся в Атлантике, стремительно приближается к американским Виргинским островам, Пуэрто-Рико и Доминикане. Мощный ураган Мария, усилившийся до 5-й категории, обрушился на Малые Антильские острова в Карибском море. Первый удар приняли на себя остров Доминика и заморский департамент Франции Гваделупа. Премьер Доминики отметил, что сейчас он совсем не занимается материальными последствиями, которые нанес ураган, поскольку эти разрушения действительно сумасшедшие. Сейчас все внимание властей города, по его словам, сосредоточено на спасении пострадавших. Также от разгула стихии сильно пострадал крупнейший город Гваделупы Пуэнто-Питер. Эксперты прогнозируют то, что Мария так быстро набрала силу, разбушевавшись всего за один день с урагана 1 до 5 категории, представляет потенциально катастрофический сценарий для островов, через которые она промчится. Продолжительность действия Марии может составить не менее 1,5 суток. Более того, чрезвычайно опасным представляется такой сценарий, при котором Мария может оказаться даже разрушительнее своего стихийного конкурента – Ирмы. Как говорится в докладе ученых «АЛЛАТРА наука» о проблемах и последствиях глобального изменения климата на Земле, эффективные пути решения данных проблем. Глобальные климатические изменения на Земле происходят по независимым от человечества обстоятельствам и требуют реальной консолидации усилий всех людей на планете для выживания цивилизации в ближайшем будущем. И об этом стоит задуматься каждому жителю нашей планеты. Учитывая нарастающую интенсивность климатических бедствий на Земле, сейчас, как никогда нам, людям, важно разобраться в том, кто мы и для чего в действительности нам дана эта жизнь. Глубокие и честные ответы на эти ключевые для каждого вопросы даны в уникальном фильме на канале АЛЛАТРА ТВ. Это больше, чем фильм. Это живая книга. Сознание и личность. От заведомо мертвого к вечно живому. Если вам понравился наш выпуск, ставьте лайк, подписывайтесь на наш канал и будьте в курсе новостных климатических событий в мире.